Welcome back to A Record of My Father. Here today, we're going to talk about drug and drug abuse and why Yogi Bear is a single father. Is he a single father? He's a bear? He's got
I don't
boo-boo
know, Boo
there.
Boo. What do
I
you
don't know.
say?
Single father or not. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. But yeah, so when was the last time you did drugs? When did you do
Well, I
drugs?
mean, if we're going to talk about single fathers, what about Popeye and Sweet Pea?
They didn't have a kid though. You mean olive
No,
oil?
no. Popeye kid was Sweet Pea.
I don't
Olive
remember that
Oil was his Goya,
as
and
Goyle.
Bluto was always trying to hook up with Olive.
Oh
And
yeah.
Sweet Pea was sort of like, where'd he come from? We don't know.
I never even saw him because was he in the
I
live
would.
action with Robin Williams? Was he in the? He wasn't,
I
was he?
don't. I mean, Popeye that I grew up on is probably it's in the 30s and 40s. It was funny, but it was the same thing with Boo Boo and Yogi Bear.
No, that's fair.
But I
Well, that
always
was
thought Boo
30s,
Boo was
40s. I thought that was 60s.
that was 60s. 60s was
Yeah.
would have been Yogi and Bear Boo Boo because that was I remember that in color. Popeye originally started out in black and white. And they had Wimpy and all the different things. This is definitely the great start to a podcast on drug abuse or drugs or what is drug abuse or what is drug abuse to us, when you think about the different things. I mean,
Well, you got to be careful of those picnic baskets that he's eating because those are his drugs, his picnic baskets.
I think
Such a
this is
whimsical,
going to be one
lazy
of the
character. Gosh, he was wonderful.
maybe this is the way people need to discuss drugs.
I
Maybe
think so.
they have to just lay it out. But from the people that I've seen and known that have been addicts, and the ones that have been part-time addicts, and the ones that have been just abused drugs occasionally, that would be me. That they tend to survive and figure out ways around it. But I
And
look
that,
back through the years, and it's like it's kind of been it's really changed to what drugs and drug abuse is. It's like now you don't look at many states and many people don't look at marijuana the way they used to when we were kids, when I was a kid, not you. Because then it was just like, oh my God, it's a drug dealer. It's the pusher man, pusher man. He should go to jail and be killed. And now you got, the Trump dude coming back saying that we should kill all drug dealers. So that
well,
would be
I think fentanyl is killing people, right? This is
right.
really the first time in history. I mean, black tar heroin, really, really good stuff, right? Awesome. If
Yeah.
we go back to the time like the Rolling Stones were shooting heroin, we'd have great jazz music and overall great music in general today. That's why music has been on decline, is because we don't have good heroin anymore. But fentanyl is killing people. And then Charleston White, funny enough, public figure, comedian, I don't really know what he is, said,
Yeah.
"Man, I remember in the 90s, people were smoking crack and they weren't dying. They'd go to work and they hang out and they get their work done and they
Yeah.
smoke crack in the office and maybe it take over their life a little bit, but they wouldn't die." And I think that
Well, I think that
that's a problem now more than ever.
See, I would argue that the problem with crack is that it wasn't that they would die. It was that there was so much money being made from it in the inner city that people were killing each other over territories.
I wonder if
And it'd
those
be,
deaths were correlated or are nearly the same amount as the fentanyl overdoses that we've seen today. I don't know.
mm,
It's an interesting question.
I, murders on the decline. I mean, we know that overall. It's been declining for years. And from the 90s, it's like a lot lower.
That's fair.
Overall, the number of people, yeah, it's a lot lower.
Well, I also
So we
think
used to
that
murder a lot.
the
Hmm?
fentanyl epidemic is really a result of revenge from China for the Opium Wars in 1860. I think so. I think that
Really?
this is a very important conversation that we're not having as Americans and that we
I think
need to
that
talk about.
I didn't know we went into the conspiracy side.
It's not
Uh,
conspiracy, it's true.
it isn't? Okay.
No, they're the number
It's
one manufacturer of fentanyl in the world.
really?
They are.
Really?
Yes.
No way.
Yep.
And just out of curiosity, how do we decide who's the number one manufacturer? Is there some like
It's
does
probably a thing
everybody
on the internet somewhere
they
that says it.
report this to the local government?
Yeah. They
Okay,
say we're
just
big
checking.
drug dealers.
See, that's why I'm such a skeptic is when I start to hear about what people do for drugs and stuff like that. I remember in the 70s when we were smoking marijuana. the Nixon came out with a study that said that marijuana was a stepping stone drug to harder drugs, heroin, cocaine, blah, 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 that kill people. And the science, most of the scientists around the time were like quizzical about it. But what had happened is it was funded, I think it was funded by part of the Republican administration, had funded some agency that funded some other agency that came up with this so they could have a mini war on drugs on marijuana because it was horrible and bad,
Well, it was also the
you know.
idea of funding the civil wars in South America, in Honduras, Guatemala, and other
Was a
ones.
way to that came later. Then it
Hmm.
was a way to beat up hippies. Okay,
Oh, the
incarcerate.
targeting of marijuana, because it was also
Right.
always
See,
race
marijuana
correlated.
was like not heroin or cocaine because that was the thing that when we needed weapons from Iran, we need to buy stuff to support the Sandinistas. That was another thing that our government did with the drugs. But at that time, what his biggest problem were young people, and many young people smoke weed. So he wanted to make weed this scourge of this is what's wrong with society today, you know. So we had a something to point to. Long prison sentences. You know, you had an ounce, and you go to. Can you imagine going to jail for 5 years?
Well, at the same time, too, that big ban and that kind of demonization of marijuana was also because of the threat of hemp on the timber industry in the country, in our country
Mm,
specifically, because hemp can be used as a wide range of as a resource, right?
yeah,
And that is
yeah.
also why that they had a demonization of marijuana, and they also had a race correlation specifically with Mexicans. And then as they demonized that using race, the hemp industry no longer continued to ever become a thing, even though it grows at like 5 times the rate as regular trees,
Isn't
which
that
is
funny?
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity. I don't know. I'm my own personal judgment of marijuana is like, what is it? I mean, for me personally, it is something that I'm not a recreational user. I've tried it. I've tried it in the last year, but it doesn't. It kills my motivation the next day. It slows me down. It makes me everything becomes manana. I don't want to do anything, you know. And if I get high, if I got high today, I wouldn't do anything tomorrow. I would talk about what I was going to do tonight, tomorrow, but I wouldn't do it, and then I push it off for another day, and it would literally kill a day of my life. And when I was 20, I didn't give a shit because I had a lot of days. Now I'm 64. You know, I'm more reluctant to waste days.
You got
I
like
don't mind.
15 of them left, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind sitting on the back watching birds poop, but I don't want to stay in bed and inside and eat brownies. You know, that's not my that I don't see as something that is it just seems like a waste.
For me, it only works in micro doses, like 5
Yeah,
milligram edible. But if I
yeah,
smoke a joint, one, I'll feel like Mr. Octopus Man and become terrified of absolutely everybody. There was this funny
yeah.
video I watched the other day, right, on Instagram, where it was this guy, and they kind of do like this spoof 60 Minutes episode. And he's like,
Hmm.
today we're going to be interviewing Michael, who smokes recreational marijuana before he goes to parties. And they're interviewing him. And he's like, so you smoke before parties? And he's like, yeah, yeah, I do. Maybe 2 joints too. And the interviewer's like, my God, how does he do it? Because it's so strong now. It's like 36%. And then
Yeah,
like that's not even before you get into the concentrates, which are
yeah.
high 70s to 90s if you're getting into distillate, which
And
is
then we were doing 7%
yeah.
on a great day.
There's
I
more
mean, Columbia.
camaraderie with that. There's more, that's more,
Yeah,
we can have a conversation. We could subsist our existence in reality without having to go
and
to a
sit around the table
borderline
and do.
psychedelic. Yeah, it's almost a psychedelic now.
Yeah, we would do bong hit contests where you sit around and, you know, hey, I did 180 bong hits. And it's like now you do one and you just kind of lay down and go like, yo, dude.
There was
And
one
then,
time last year
yeah,
where I smoked a joint and I was like, when you're kind of, you had a couple drinks and you're like, oh, this time's going to be different than the other 100,000 times. And then
yes,
you do it and you're like, oh no.
I
And
need
then
to
you're
go
like,
home.
what?
I'm scared.
Exactly. I laid on my
Where?
ground for a while till the next morning, but I closed my
Yeah.
eyes. I went to sleep on the floor, just on the carpet, and I didn't feel like I went to sleep. That's how. I felt like my eyes were just open the entire time. It was
Yeah.
bizarre. It was
Oh,
so,
wow.
so bizarre.
That
Uh,
sounds like acid.
no, it was from a recreational dispensary. Yeah, maybe the
That's
Paraquat,
some,
right? What was the
that's,
KW when you were growing up?
no, KW and Parallel, two different things.
Oh,
KW is
two
killer
different things.
weed, which had paradine, which is a
Oh,
horse tranquilizer. That was KW. Uh, what was the other one? Paraquat was something that the U.S. government used to spray on Mexican soil on the plants there to kill it. But the problem was is that when the government came over with their helicopters and sprayed paraquat on, you know, drugs, what's the first thing you do? You run out there and you pull them all, pick them all, pull all the weeds off, and stuff them in a bag and sell them. And paraquat caused permanent lung damage and a few other things if you smoke that. So there are problems with that,
What
you
was
know.
the other thing at your time as old? Something called Thai stick, which is now funny because they re-engineered that so it's all marijuana now. It's bizarre.
Well, Thai stick in my age, which would have been probably this would have been. I remember it coming around in the 75 maybe. They had it was like buds tied to a stem, and then it was dipped in opium, which that's what you were told. And I don't know if all that's true, but I know that I saw what people did after they did it, and it was nothing like anything you would imagine. People were they were very, very different. They were not they weren't just stoned and they weren't tripping. They were kind of in the middle of that. It was kind of like a psychedelic where you keep your mind. So it's very different,
Because
but it's
opium
really strong.
is
You know.
basically just smokable heroin. I mean, heroin's already smokable,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
a derivative or something, right?
I've
And
never I don't think I've ever done heroin. I may have come across. I've certainly done a number of derivatives. I've had Dilaudid so many times.
oh yeah, the
Yeah,
Vicodin.
but yeah, but well, Vicodin is Vicodin opioid?
That's an opioid. Yeah,
I think so.
yeah,
That isn't. I mean, I can do way too many of those with a beer and not have any effect.
no
So,
problem. Really,
and
no
Dilaudid
effect.
never. You what?
No effect.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Dilaudid was the same thing, which is a derivative of opium. Yeah.
It's like
And
morphine, right? It's
yeah, and I
almost like
got
morphine.
shot a bunch of times in the back, and I remember them. I had a floating fragment in my spine, and they gave me a bunch of shots at the hospital, and it wouldn't stop. I still was just seizing, jumping in the air each time the fragment touched my spinal column because, well, it did. And they gave me three shots, and then I was like, still like, didn't even phase me. And they're like, well, and then my wife's like, well, what else can we do? And they're like, well, uh, you need to take them home.
The hospital is such a useless place now.
And
I
I was
swear.
like, and then I'm laying down, right? They pull the thing out and they turn to my wife and they go, well, it's going to be a while before he can. And I popped off the table and I said, let's go. And they're like, you you're almost like at the level of being dead with but I was clear. I don't know why. Maybe they gave me fake shit or there was a confusion or something, but I didn't have any euphoria. I mean, I had I had another opioid derivative where I felt it. And this is where I realized that if I ever got close to this stuff, I'd be addicted forever because it was amazing. I slid into second base when we were GSI. This would have been in the late 80s, and we had a softball team. We were playing on the ellipse. The other team, we had softball leagues, and I played and slid in second base, and they spiked the bags down, and they used to not do it, and it wasn't a big deal because it was a fun softball league. But this was a serious team. I slid in, uh, snapped my ankle, just the ball. I cracked it. Uh, I was sitting there, and it was 85 degrees, 90 degrees. wind wasn't blowing, but I could feel just the air over my ankle. That's how much it hurt. It hurt. It was takes me to the whatever the care place is, Nova Care, whatever.
Oh, urgent care or
Uh,
something like that.
I know, yeah, I go there. They X-ray it, but they don't have a person to read the X-ray, so they can't tell me if it's broken or not.
That's so. Oh
They
yeah,
just put
because
me in
he
a
was on
fake.
vacation or something. He
Right, they
told
put
me.
me in a
Yeah,
fake cast, but they gave me a shot of this stuff, and I'm sitting on the table. They give me a shot. Now they give me a shot in my arm, and you feel this liquid warmth just going, and it goes all the way through to the end, to the end of your fingertips. It comes across your whole body. You can feel it like washing happiness across you. And it's just like, I could feel it running across. To this day, I still remember that. And I could have walked on it then, no problem.
did you
Wouldn't have
feel
been a big deal.
nauseated at all?
No, I
No, no
became
nausea.
that hit me, and I just looked at her and smiled, and she was like, "Yep." She was my neighbor at the time. We lived on Pomeroy Drive. It was funny, but I was gassed, but I was gassed in a really, it was, yeah, what? Okay, well, I'll do that. What do you want me to do? Okay, it
Do
was
the
one of
dishes?
those.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. I was good to do anything except I was ready to go. I was like, well, I don't my ankle's fine now. She goes, no, it's not. Your head's
Very
fine.
broken still.
Your pain's fine, but no.
What do they
And it's like
shoot
some
the football players with on the field?
I don't know if they shoot him with that, man. They can do anything.
Because they'll break something. They'll just shoot them up with something.
Yeah, well,
Numb
that's what
it.
they
It's
did
like a
with
numbing agent.
RG3. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
He came back out after he had his,
Now he's crippled.
leg,
Like four
they
knee
chopped his leg
surgeries.
off and put
That
it
was
back.
crazy.
What always makes me think of The
It's
Simpsons. Remember when he was playing football and they came the guy in and he wanted to be a great football star and he goes, well, if you go back in, you're going to lose your leg. And then
oh,
Homer's like, give him the shot, and he gives him the shot, and he goes out there and he kicks and they win the game, but his leg goes through the uprights first.
that's such an estranged reference.
Yeah,
My
but
favorite one
it's
that we've been calling upon is when he goes to get, or Marge, right, is saying, "Oh, I have a headache. Can you find me some Advil or Tylenol or
yeah.
something or aspirin?" And he's like, "Oh,
Hmm.
okay, sure thing, Marge." And he comes back with a bucket of chicken. He's like, "Oh, they didn't have aspirin, but they had cigarettes." And he gives her a pack of cigarettes. I think that's still one of the funniest things
Okay.
that Matt Groening has ever come up with.
Well,
Oh,
they're a drug. I know.
cigarette, yeah. The
Oh
most
yeah, yeah.
addictive or something. I don't, what does that
Oh
mean when they
yeah.
say
They're
it's more addictive than heroin? Is it just because you do it more? I think that's why.
no, it's harder to quit.
Well,
They have
apparently
a
it
better
generates synapses in your brain too, addictive synapses that your brain calls upon said cigarette or vice.
I mean, I smoked from, part-time smoked. First cigarette, like sixth grade. I've already said that in a previous one, or six, no, when I was six. And I think I smoked, no, eight, and I vomited. And my dad was a heavy smoker. My mother smoked a little bit, but there was always access, from childhood on up. So you could always, pluck a few and smoke. But and also it wasn't looked on as bad as it
Disgusting.
is today. Even though it smells bad, and the worst smell that you can ever smell is like a person that went out during the winter time or the rain and smoked and came back in. You're like, oh God,
The rain is the worst. Yeah, you have to wash your clothes like four times as much.
it's
Because I've been a
so
smoker for about
nasty. It's
what,
so
8 years
nasty.
now? 8 years.
I did 30.
8 years now. I'm getting to the point to where I'm smoking a lot more because it's weird. It went down about five
Yeah.
years in, and then now it's been ramped up. It's been really,
Hmm.
really ramped up recently. I think it's because we were in Italy. I'm gonna blame it on something, so it's not on me. It
But isn't
feels
that drug
better.
abuse?
Well, yeah, that's what we were talking about too before this episode. It's like, so what is acceptable? So, say I do drugs, right, on a weekend. Is that drug abuse? It's just a mere usage of it, drug abuse? Or do
Yeah.
I truly have to do it a lot to abuse a drug?
Well,
And
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
funny the use of illegal drugs or the use of prescription over the counter drugs for purposes other than those for which they are meant to be used.
So if I do cocaine,
That sounds like something the pharmaceutical companies wrote.
yeah, that definitely is. That
Yeah,
100% is. But if I do
yeah, that
cocaine,
is.
right? If I do it once, is that drug abuse? Or do I have to do it a lot for people to say that it's drug abuse? What does that
No,
mean? I don't know what drug abuse means.
yeah. What is considered drug abuse? Using or drinking larger amounts or over longer periods of time than planned.
Okay, so it's
Continually wanting or unsuccessfully trying to cut down or control use of drugs or alcohol. Drug abuse, that makes sense. Spending a lot of time getting, using, or recovering from use of drugs or alcohol, craving or strong desire to use drugs or alcohol, that kind of stuff. So that makes sense, you
so it's
know.
consistent use. Is that what it is? It's not once.
Right. I wouldn't think it. I well, that
But
would
what
be
about illegal
abuse. Like
substances?
if you take uh OxyContin that's not yours, according to that, you're and it's also a felony. If
Oh, it
you use
definitely is.
prescription drugs and that are somebody else's and they give them to you, they've committed a felony. I'm not sure what your thing is, but I mean, my God, I think back to when you were a kid and the whole we did the ADHD thing, and it's like I want to find out what the heck you were going through because you were my kid and I wanted to know
I mean, 7-year-old taking
what it was.
methamphetamine, you kind of want to know
Yeah.
how high he is.
Well, I mean, I did a fair amount of the speed right after high school because I got into that, and that was my wonder drug. And then it kind of petered out after a while. But it was very much like that. Same thing.
Why did
It
it peter
was.
out? Why'd you stop doing it?
Uh, I kind of like. I'm trying to remember if there was some epiphany because so many things in my life have changed because of epiphanies, and I think maybe because drinking was more acceptable and easier, and I could control the day by alcohol better than I could do it with amphetamines. Because amphetamines, I mean, I when I was working, I was doing the 85 hours, maybe 90 a week. I would literally the alarm would go off and I'd throw a few pills in my mouth and drink down a glass of water at 5:30 a.m. And I didn't need the alarm to get me back up. And I was popped and ready to roll.
And just to
And then
clarify for the listeners, speed, these were Black Beauty's White Cross, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
back in the olden days, I think we had purple. No, that was purple. That was acid. That was something else. But the story. Yeah, we got a lot of them, don't we?
airing our
Yeah,
qualms out to
but well,
the
that was the
entire
whole
world.
thing that was the whole thing that bothered me then, and it still bothers me to this day when people uh they talk about something being horrible and they don't really know what they're talking about. If you look back, there was a story that Janet Cook did, and for those of you who don't know, she was a Pulitzer winner for the Washington Post, and she wrote an article about an 8-year-old inner city kid in Southeast whose parents did drugs and they shared drugs with him. And she made references to him smoking acid. So obviously, she didn't know shit about drugs. And
No,
see, my whole life, I'd heard that marijuana is horrible. You'll die. You'll shoot kids. You'll eat
your brain will
dogs or
blow
whatever the
up.
hell.
You'll turn
Every
gay.
single thing. And the problem that is me is that don't fucking lie to me. Just tell me what it's going to do. Tell me what the downsides are, and then I will measure them. And whether or not I feel like prison, loss of job, whatever, that it's fair. But to tell me stuff that, and this is this 8-year-old and he's homeless and he's smoking acid. Well, she got fired. She lost her Pulitzer. I mean, she actually
I
won a
mean,
prize
good.
for the article. Think about how good it had to be for that to
On
happen.
something based on lies.
Yeah. And then I
She
had
probably never
somebody
even met
else
the kid. Think about
or
that.
or or no, she wrote that. I forgot. She wrote that, and then I take that back. She didn't say that. That wasn't her. And the Potomac News, which is a local newspaper, there was an article that somebody was writing about drug abusers, and they made the reference to someone. These kids today, I know a bunch that smoke acid. And they said that, and that's when I got pissed off, and got tired of it because you heard the Nixon study. The Nixon study was refuted in like 2 or 3 years by real scientists, and in this case, the one about Janet Cook, that was refuted. And then here was somebody writing a story about how, the problem with kids today is that they're doing this. And I know, and they had personal, and they were like a 20-something person or no, maybe even 30-something. And they were talking about smoking acid. And I knew that you didn't smoke acid. Okay. And I wrote in and I wrote an article to Potomac News, and my article was that, this is the problem with people that are trying to reduce drug addiction and drug is that you're giving out these false scenarios of things that are just not real. Your article is full of fallacies. The person's, and I went through and I highlighted them. I just shat on the guy, you know. Well, the editor calls me to see if it's me. And I'm like, yeah. And then he finds out my dad actually writes for the newspaper too. And then he's like, well, okay. And then he asked me if I want a job. And then but he published it and it was really cool. And that person that I wrote about never said a thing about what they wrote. They told a pack of lies. It was in the paper. A lot of people read them. And what's funny is that's today's social media.
Do you think we can go back and find that in an archive? You think we could find an archive that goes back to that place?
Telling news, yeah.
Get your
Yeah.
article. Maybe that could be
Oh,
the
yeah.
thumbnail for this. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be a nice thumbnail. That makes sense
Mm,
too.
yeah. But it was like it just irked me that and that's the thing. It's like you don't need to say things are worse than they are to get people to react or move or believe. And that's what they were doing then. And that's what you see today. And you see that in social media now. When you see people crapping all over the FEMA people in North Carolina saying they're not doing it, the people are dying, they're hanging in the trees, and the little kids are under there, and they're watching their parents rot in the trees, and you're like, can you think that scenario through?
Well, they blame the
Where
minorities that live in Southwest
no, no,
Virginia.
no. Well, and then
And
they
I'm like,
say
so
it's
what
yeah,
minorities in Southwest
but
Virginia?
stop for a minute and think about just that visual. How would this even happen? Where the little kid in diapers is underneath the tree and his parents are dead, drowned, and he's alive and they're dead and they're hanging in the and you think for a moment you're like that's not
It's a very
real.
specific experience as well. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine that this would be a common thing, maybe something that happened a couple times, but never something that would be so consistent because I don't think hurricanes target parents. I don't know. In my experience, I don't think
Well, I would
hurricanes do
kids
that.
die first
Why is
and
that?
and
Because they're
because they're
silly.
weaker,
Oh yeah,
you know.
silly
And if
munchkins.
and if you're holding on, if I was holding on to you, well, when we were at the beach and you were 2.5 years old or 3 years old, and I went into the ocean with you and I got hit by a wave
Oh, I recall. I do recall
and we
indeed.
flipped. We double flipped through. I was holding onto your hand, and all I could think was, even if I break his hand, he'll be alive.
I was
And
like
but if I
seven
let
or eight
go,
though, I think. I wasn't
no,
four.
no, no, you were not. You
Oh, this
were
happened multiple
young.
times?
No, no, no.
Tried to
That this
drown me
was.
multiple times, huh?
I've tried to
Starting to
drown you
see a
multiple times, but
consistent
this was not that case.
consistent thing here.
Because when I came up, my arm was holding your hand, and we were in between an old lady's crotch.
Yeah, I was like 8 or 9. I remember that. And I wondered how I got there too. That was crazy.
Yeah,
Because I didn't remember going through the legs, but
I
I
thought
don't
you were
know.
6.
No, I think I
But
was like 25 or 24. This was last
yeah,
year. But
yeah.
oh, quick plug
Anyway,
for Husson's Pizza. We love your pizza. I'm wearing the t-shirt right now. We will tag you in this episode, and I will tag you on the Instagram for the highlight. This is the owner. He's a fantastic man. This is a West Virginia small town mom and pop company. Go get your slice of Husson Pizza today. We will have a promo code coming out in the next episode. Thank you.
I think we need to promote small town businesses that have specialties that are really good.
That's exactly what I
And I
want to
think
do
that
with
we
this
could do
this
that through
podcast.
here because, to our 7 listeners, we would like each of them to know that if they're ever in, where's that hurricane?
Hurricane, yeah.
Work in West
And also
Virginia.
Charleston as well. They got multiple locations.
Charleston?
Yeah.
Ooh, aren't they just some haughty toddy MFers?
Yeah. Great
No
great
cussing.
pizza though. We love it.
Yeah.
But to continue on after the plug, illegal drugs. But yeah, no, the you know what's crazy I think about it is K2. Synthetic
Yeah.
government marijuana came out in the early 2000s. And you smoke it and you ever see like the homeless people go crazy? Like you ever see them like smoking like what looks like weed? And
Yeah.
because it's synthetic marijuana that
Do they
makes
spray it?
you see demons. It's kind of like a salvia high, I imagine. But they I don't know what it exactly is. Maybe we could
I
look it
never
up.
did salvia.
No, I never did either because everybody said, yeah, it's the worst experience in my entire life. You should try it. It's like a raccoon getting trashed. He's like, you want to taste how terrible this is? I say no. I say no, I don't want to do that. Not even slightly.
I like that, a raccoon getting trash. No, no, man, I want to eat some of that.
Yeah,
It's
everybody was
it's
like, yeah, salvia. I remember smoking it one time, and I felt like I was being drugged by a car, and my head was smacking on the concrete. I'm like, why would I ever want to do that? Why would I ever want that
because it's
experience?
a really cool experience,
It,
man.
no, I am comfortable in this reality here. This
Yeah.
reality here is almost too much for me. So I don't think
Yeah.
I need
I'm with you
those
on that. Hmm.
otherworldly experiences. I was really
Hmm.
disappointed when I did LSD for the first time though,
Yeah.
because I remember the way Hunter S. Thompson, like the fear and loathing idea and everything like that.
Yeah.
I was really, really hoping that there was dragons and things like that. I was like, when am I going to start
That
seeing
was me. I
dragons?
did see that.
Yeah, which I'm always skeptical, like you are. Well, you taught me to
Yeah.
be skeptical, so it's kind of your fault about
Yeah, I'm the
your
asshole.
story with the window pane, the white pane. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Blotter. It was a I think it was a page of blotter and I didn't realize that's what it was. And we were going to go away for the weekend. I had a bunch of friends. We were going to go fishing, and they all bagged out last moment. And I bought it from somebody that I didn't think was reliable anyway. So I took a little and nothing happened. I took a little and nothing happened. I took a little and nothing happened. So then I just took it all. And then that was on Friday night, and I was sitting there and I was watching MASH, and behind the TV set was a big, huge painting, and it was like a wood scene, and it had a little stream going down the middle of it, and then the water. I can hear the water, and I see the birds and the trees on the painting. I'd forgotten about the TV. I was looking at the painting, going, "Oh, it's one." And I could hear the water going behind the TV now because it was running off the bottom of the frame of the picture. And then a deer runs up, buck, probably 8 point, stops, looks down, puts his head down in the water and starts drinking water. And I'm like, okay. Pops its head up, looks left, right, runs across the creek, across the little stream, runs off the side. And once he got to the edge of the picture, everything was gone. It was just the wall, so it was gone. And then here, and it's a hunter, and he runs through, and he runs over to the water, and he lifts up his rifle and he fires, and then he runs off the screen. And I'm like, uh, I guess it works.
Did you get the kaleidoscope vision at all?
Yeah, I got that on the wall. I remember
The kaleidoscope vision is what I remember so much. And then paintings move. Like
all my
it's
paintings
kind
were
of like
alive.
it's like a GIF kind of. You know what a GIF is? Like it's like a looped video of like 10
Yeah,
seconds. That's what I remember looking at mountains and there was a sunrise and the sun would go up and down like in the painting. And it
I
would get
was looking
brighter
at
and then it
a
would get darker. And then the waves would crash on the beach. There was an ocean painting, and the waves would crash on the beach and
yep.
they go out, and the tide would
I
go in.
had
The tide would go in and out. And I was always mesmerized by that. I'm like, what in the world?
dock.
What kind of
I
drug
had
does that to a person?
boats at a dock, and one of them had a lantern, and the water was going back and forth, and you could hear the splashing water. It was just Wow.
See, we need to figure out how to make
Yeah.
that drug, but not make you feel like an alien creature from
Yeah,
outer
but that
space.
was that was Friday and Saturday, and then Saturday I didn't come down, and then Saturday night, and then Sunday I didn't come down, and then Monday morning I'm sitting there and I'm still seeing the blood. You could actually see the blood go through your veins. It was just still very,
The level of psychosis, even after 2 days of no sleep, is attributing to
yeah.
that. Yeah,
I
no,
think I
you
was
probably did a
sleeping, but I
sheet.
wasn't.
You
I
probably
was
did a
just
sheet by accident. Yeah.
you'd close your eyes, but you would see everything. It was like it didn't matter whether they were open or closed, it was there. And by Monday afternoon, evening at about 7 o'clock, I decided to take a bath, all weird things. And I filled up the tub, jumped in the tub, and then it was okay. And then I was like, I'm back. Because I was thinking, this is the new normal.
I was worried about that for a couple of times. HPPD is a real thing too. The residual after effects of taking copious amounts of psychedelics. Because you can
Yeah.
develop like tracers and like when you wave your hand and there's
Yeah.
like that can happen permanently or for a very long time if you take
Yeah.
too much, which is not very widely
Well,
known.
what's the one thing I have now? I have the bells ringing in my ears from the
Tinnitus, yeah.
vaccine.
You were talking about
Yeah.
that in vaccines.
Yeah.
Go check out
That's
the vaccines episode. It's pretty good.
yeah, that's good. That just still pisses me off, but
That happened to
when
me
everything
the other
goes
day. It got
quiet,
really loud.
yeah, I can hear it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is not fun.
It's probably a residual from all the drugs, but
I
it
think it's your
wasn't.
fault. I think it's definitely your fault.
Yeah. I mean, 80% of my problems are all self-inflicted. So,
I'll never
you
forget
know,
looking at an Olive Garden commercial with a few of my friends while we were on LSD,
yeah,
and we looked at it, and I remember it was so funny because this was like peak mid, and we it was an Olive Garden commercial. My friend's like, "That is
yeah.
the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my whole life." But because any food, like I don't know if you remember, is just so foul, and it's been about what 9 years since I have partaken in that. But
This would be, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I was done. Yeah, it's been a
I
long
was,
time for me, but which is good.
I had a
I don't
meal
see myself
with my
returning.
family. Okay. And this happened. I'm now 64. This happened probably when I was, say, 17. So 40 years ago, something. Anyway, 45 years ago, something like that. If you can do math, I don't know. I can't. I can
I
only do
can't do math
arithmetic.
either.
Anyway, I remember sitting down at the table and we had pork chops and we had rice of all things with pork chops. And my sister was there. I think one of my brothers was there. Might have been both. Father, mother, whole thing. Family dinner Sunday. When we usually always ate. I mean, we'd start out eating and then we'd get into a fight. But anyway, uh, I looked at the pork chop and when I cut it, blood. It squealed when I stabbed it. It squealed like a pig, and then blood squirted up, and it was squirting, and it was ripping on the plate while I was cutting a piece. And then when I ate it, I could hear the thing screaming in my mouth as I was eating it. And and then I went and the rice, you know what rice is?
Yes.
Yeah, it was maggots. There was nothing but a pile of maggots, and they were crawling around on the thing. And and I was trying to get them, and and it's weird because I sat there and I focused on it, and I think I ate about, I had a pork chop maybe like this, and I ate about 4 bites of it, and I ate maybe a spoonful of the maggots, which was supposed to be rice, and then everybody was done.
I'm surprised your family didn't know something was up.
I
Uh,
don't know if they did or they didn't. They were kind of like I
why is he
was
so
always kind of
weird?
a
Why is he being
well,
so weird today?
I was the black sheep,
That's
so
fair.
sure he did what he did, you know.
I was the black sheep of my family as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You were also the white sheep and the green sheep and the yellow sheep and the red sheep and the orange sheep. You're pretty much this kaleidoscope of sheeps.
Yeah. Way to wrap around with the
Sheepids.
kaleidoscope comment.
Is it
You know what?
sheepses?
There's an
Sheepses or
sheeps,
shepherds?
sheepies,
Sheeps.
sheeps,
Sheebies.
sheeps,
Sheeps.
sheeps,
Shebetzes. Okay.
ship.
I have
What
the
I was
same
thinking
problem
about,
with deer.
what, oh, I was just gonna think about
Deers.
the Instagram. My new favorite Instagram video thing is
Yeah.
there's this thing called stacking toads, and this man has a bunch of toads in his yard for some reason, and he did a five stack. He stacked one on top of the other, and it's just a stack of toads. It's five of them, and they're all just sitting there on top of each other. It's a phenomenal video. Maybe I'll link that in the description. It's a
Yep.
absolutely wonderful video. Made my year, really. It really
Really?
made my year
Stack of toads.
what it was. Stacking
You could make a
toads.
sandwich that way.
Yeah, it almost
You
looks like
put
a
like a little
sandwich.
piece of tomato in between. I mean, if I was to stack them, I would like put one on. I put a piece of tomato on the top on one. I put it. Then I put a piece of lettuce, and I put it next. Then
That'd
I
be
put a piece of
really
onion,
funny.
and then I put a couple pickles, and then I would just do that. And then I put a piece of bread on top, and it'd be like, yeah, there you go. I got them stacked.
Okay, we're gonna
And
send this
they'd be
to
like,
we're gonna
what?
sell this idea to them.
I like that.
Uh,
We call it sandwich toads.
Say copyright 2024 so we can sell that.
Copyright 2024 sandwich toads.
There we go. All right, that's
You like
perfect.
sandwich toads?
That's $1 million idea.
I like that. Yeah, we have another. We have million dollar ideas all the time.
Million, one
Yeah.
million. You know what I really like? The Minions movie. The Minions movie's great. Phenomenal watch. I don't care what
Hmm.
age you are. Those little
Yeah.
guys, those little nuggets are just the best. They're just the best, and I don't know why.
You're making everybody believe that we did drugs to do this on drug abuse.
We definitely did. I like the
No, we
tone.
didn't.
No, I'm
Ain't-
kidding.
No, no.
This was
I haven't been to a
sarcasm.
dispensary in at least a week.
In at
So
least 3 days. No, no, marijuana's too scary now.
oh, I tried it. I tried it for sleeping because everybody
Oh, how did
said
that
because
work?
I have great difficulty sleeping through the night. So I took the little 5 milligram thing. They say, oh, it's a pack of, whatever the one. There's two types. One's
Indica and
what
sativa, that's what you're talking about.
right, indica and sativa. One is a
Hmm.
sleepy one, go to sleep. The other one's go to work. Yeah, go to work. Right. Anyway, that's what I was told. I laughed, and I'm like, yeah, let's get stoned and go to work. That's a great idea.
I know so many
Uh,
people that do that. I don't know how I want to go to sleep.
Yeah, I do. Well, that's
That's what I
because
would
you're
want
using
to
the
do.
wrong weed. Well, they do that. They sell it in little 5 milligram gummies. I go and I take it. I gotta tell you, it tastes nasty as shit.
Oh yeah, it
And
never
then
tastes great.
I go to bed and I'm just weird dreaming. It was kind of like NyQuil.
Good sleep or no?
No, sucked
Low
ass. Not
quality.
I didn't really bad quality. I
What did
didn't my
the ring say? Or
this
your
thing.
Fitbit, your sleep
My
thing?
Fitbit said it was great sleep, and I was just like, I felt exhausted,
That clearly
you
means it
know.
was great then.
Yeah, but no, I
If
get
you wake
up
up tired,
like
it means the
last
sleep was
7 days
great.
I got up and I've just been sleeping like a rock because it's cold. Uh, I'm actually working all day, doing physical things. I'm back to actually working out. I'm also doing extended walks with the dog, so I'm getting 5 to 7 miles of hiking, walking in every day. And then I get weightlifting in every day. So I'm actually physically tired. I go to bed and I stop with the naps if I don't take a nap during the day. And then I'm like, woo.
Yeah, the nap really, really messes me up. I don't think that
And then I
that's.
learned how to hold my pee.
I got to teach myself how to do that again.
Well, that's what
I
I
gotta
was
freaking
talking to
do that.
one of my hiking buddies that I went with on Wednesday. We did 7 miler that day. Oh my God. Anyway, he said he went in because he was worried because he's always having to pee, and he goes to the urologist, and they're telling him that during COVID, everybody learned how not to hold it anymore. They learned that because there was always a bathroom. I mean, a bathroom 10 feet away when you're at home, and you would use it. You wouldn't, but at work, you wouldn't do that, and you would wait. You would continue to work. You'd have other people. You'd be interacting. You wouldn't go to the bathroom every single time you had the urge. You would learn how to hold it, control your, your urethra or whatever the hell it is.
That's
You
what it
keep it
is.
in.
Yeah.
So you actually wait until it builds up and then you go and you pee. And so you could wait longer. And this is what is really interrupted a lot of people's sleep because they're like, oh my God, I pee every 45 minutes during the day. And wow, I got to do that at night. It's like, no shit.
I've been waking up at 4:50 every day
Yeah.
to go, and then I go back to sleep. I feel like I'm 80-year-old
That's my nickname.
man
Remember? Down 450.
down 4:50. I remember that. That was in the Preakness Steaks episode. Go check that out.
Yeah, yeah,
Go
the good
check out
old
that
days.
that episode.
Don't gamble, it's bad for you.
And I cleared my closet out recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I donated 7 bags
Find any
of
drugs
clothes.
in there?
Sadly, no. Sadly, I'm kind of the person that does them all. So
Yeah.
that kind of sucks.
Well,
But
I kind of learn and relearn about the drugs and and I don't know, I think I've done most uh everything from I mean the lean I did was Percocet and liquor. So that's not a little different
no.
than
What is it? It's like
Percocet and
promethazine and codeine cough syrup. Yeah.
yeah, I've done the codeine and all that and just
Poured in the
I didn't
spleen.
get yeah, I
What's the
mean the
weakest
worst I
opioid?
had was
Opiate.
I mean when I had the back surgery they gave me Vicodin, it's the Trimerax, which was
Yeah.
Van. God, I can't. There's Vicodin. There's like three that are really really good barbiturates, and they gave me like a 50 count of Vicodin, and they gave me what's a muscle relaxer that you can think of?
Muscle relaxer.
Uh,
Is
yeah.
lorazepam, is that one?
No, talk about the ones that you know that are real
That's
common.
a benzo.
Not Percocet. Yeah, give me a benzo.
Xanax?
Percocet. What's
That's not
not
a
Xanax.
is that a benzo? Yeah, it's a benzo,
Older
right?
stuff. Older stuff.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, but it was
Twitch in my
like
chest. That was weird.
yeah, I did those and I remember that I got to the point where I couldn't get out of the chair. And I would just sit in the chair and just decide whether or not it was worth getting up to use the restroom or not. And that's when I decided this is bad. Can't do this anymore. You know. But the back was better. And
Well,
that's
that's
what they
good.
wanted. They wanted me to go until he's like, well, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I got rid of him. I didn't want it.
You never want to go
Yeah.
down that Oxycontin route.
No,
No,
because
that's
it's
a
like
freaking
I've
nightmare.
seen the people. We had the
Break your
guy when I
back at
worked
work or something.
construction. The I it was in between years. I worked asphalt, and I was coming back. I came back, I think, in June when I got out of college, and I used to work asphalt every summer to pay for it, and I could make a certain amount of money and do it. And the week before I got back, a guy named Clyde, who was on the crew, he was a real tough guy, kind of short, big, fuzzy, like what are the mutton chop
Oh,
mustaches?
sideburns?
No, no, yeah, the
Like the
one that like goes
mutton
down to
chop
here.
sideburn, yeah.
Yeah, no, the big, whatever the thing is.
The biker mustache.
Yeah, yeah, that. And he was the toughest guy in the world. He had a chain on his wallet and all that kind of shit like that. And I kill people for a living. I carry 25. Always got a 25, And he talked like a black guy, but he was a white guy, and it was kind of whatever. But he was tatted and cool and all this. And this is 1982, 83, maybe 83. And the week before, they he came in the morning and they found him in a toilet, needle in his arm, dead. And that is a really, 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 really good reason to not
Yeah. Yeah.
stick pins in your arm. I mean,
I'm
I was
always
like,
too afraid. I've
I
always been
miss that. I
afraid of
miss the whole
freaking
thing. I mean, if a
needles.
doctor's going to get me high, I mean, I think I understand the whole Michael Jackson thing with the propofol, because I had propofol a bunch of times, and I got to tell you, it is you it's not a buzz drug, it's a sleep drug. And I have it legally, and I go in and when you talk to the people that actually put you under, and they'll say, and it's the only advanced drug they've had and putting people asleep in the last 30 years. And it came about in the 90s. and
What
it's a
about
drug
Ambien?
that no, they don't put people under for surgery with
Oh,
Ambien.
oh, I didn't
Yeah,
hear that part.
no,
Okay,
they
gotcha.
and so propofol
I
is
didn't hear
something
that
that,
part.
we just give you 18 milligrams. They got the little thing in there, and you got your cool water running, and then it's like, okay, Mr. Brown, are you ready to go? And then you're like, I think I'm gonna spear around. It's over. Yes, Mr. Brown, we've probed you in all your different orifices, and we have full video. We were going to live stream it, but we decided that no one gave a shit.
And it was the same guy, the same dental hygienist as the one at Rehoboth Beach movie theater in the screen. Remember that guy? That guy just
Oh,
looked like a predator, evil man, and he advertised in that movie
yeah,
theater.
that was
Movies at
funny.
Midway it was. And I remember
Yeah,
seeing that, and he had this funny mustache smile, and I said, I'm never getting my teeth cleaned there. Because I think it was even
that,
an advertisement for being put under for just ba
right.
basic dental work.
No pain
For just
dentistry.
cleaning, just for cleaning. And
Come
I'm
to
like, I
my
don't what?
cleaning, and if you're female, we'll put you under.
It was the oddest thing I think I've ever
Like,
seen.
yeah, it was very
He
strange.
almost had like
But
his
you
two
see
thumbs
that. You
up.
see that a lot. But I think about the different, you think about the people that you know that and addicts, people
Oh
that have
yeah,
started out and moved,
a
and
ton of them.
some of them progressed out of it. I mean, and you're still young enough that your people have not really progressed out of it completely into a whole new life. They may have started a new life, but they haven't, like mine.
There's a
I
few of
went
my
to,
friends that are transitioning to
well, that's it. They're transitioning, whereas me, I'm 65. My friends they've transitioned to death. They've transitioned to
Mhm.
failure, go, failure, go, failure, go, failure, go, jail, uh, out, new job, quit, staying good, that. And
I
it's
have a
like,
handful of friends that just have gotten
yeah,
sober for
yeah,
yeah, that are for about 3 years.
yeah, that's wonderful.
Crazy. No,
See,
very big
that's
positive. Because I think the
what,
pandemic did that to a lot of people. They drank a lot during the
yeah.
pandemic, and then after
Oh my
their
God, did we drink so much?
well, what was it? Liquor stock went up like 3x what it was. I kick myself every day for not making that investment
Well,
opportunity.
the Virginia sold 3 times the amount of liquor that year that they did in 2019.
I kick myself.
3x. But I mean, I remember going there and I said, okay, we're gonna be stuck here at the house and we're not allowed to go anywhere. So I'll get a bottle of liquor. First time I go is I get a bottle of liquor, bring it home. And I'm thinking like, okay, this is good. And I think we drank it in 12 minutes.
Yep,
And
about that
we
amount
had
of
two,
time.
we had 2 or 3 friends that came over that became our comrade buddies in COVID town. And then the next time I went, I said, okay, well, since I don't want to get infected and expose myself, I'm going to buy enough for a month. So I bought a case of liquor. That was really stupid. That was so stupid. And it was so stupid because I think we drank it in like 10 days,
I think it was 12, but yes.
so not being someone that learned a lesson, I went back and I said, well, if a case is not going to last a month, I bought a case and a half. And I said, I'm going to
Uh,
ration it. And I rationed it to like 2 weeks. So it became like, I kept trying to justify the amount I was buying because I wanted to be safe, and really it was just the drunk mind saying, wow, wow, wow. Because we had scotch, we had bourbon, we had rum, we had
well, there
everything. And it
was
was just like,
nothing to do. There was nothing to
there was
do
nothing,
except
not a
chain
damn thing.
watch TV and do my
Yeah,
Zoom meetings for UVA
yeah,
and do
yeah.
my work there. And it was awful.
What you got, a 4.2379,
Well,
whatever the
yeah,
hell you
because I
got?
graduated from Nova basically at that time, and
Yeah.
they said, "Oh, you have one science credit left. You need to take a 4 credit class because It's a science. And I said, this is
Yeah.
the stupidest thing ever. I took geology online. I just dropped it immediately. And then I was like,
Yeah.
well, I have one credit left. You know what? I have a 395. I'm getting in anyway. So then I just did that.
Yeah.
Never got my associates or whatever it was. And I just got the four
That's
year.
horrible. I can't believe you did that.
I know.
You
I didn't
couldn't
waste
you
my
couldn't
time in
pass.
geology. Oh gosh.
No, you couldn't. You could still go back. You could transfer you should transfer them back.
For getting what is an associate's going to give me?
It's going to give you another piece of paper that say you completed a task.
No, you know what? That would actually
I
be a nice
did.
ego stroke for me. I
It
kind of
was
like
for
that.
me. I transferred out it like you did, but I didn't have a 2 year degree, but I had like 3,000 credits or something. I had everything from correctional counseling to backhoe operation to, I mean, I just took prison operation. I was into prisons. I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to drive heavy equipment. I wanted to be, I mean, just like I took all these classes that were construction related, construction engineer, a police officer, prison guard, prison engineer, prison warden. I mean, I just took all sorts. And this, I took physiology. I want to be a doctor. I mean, I took physiology, like 3 classes in science. I took chemistry because I wanted to be a bomb maker for the terrorists or something. I don't know. Fuck.
For the
But I
Free
took
Syrian
all these
Army.
different things. I took, that was a joke. I took all these different things, but I didn't have enough that made it so I had a degree. But so I transferred to Old Dominion. And I went there for 2 years and 1 semester and graduated. And then after I graduated, and graduating was just a friggin' nightmare. I had to
Trouble
go
rocking
back
with
and
them.
that's another story altogether as to how
Mine
horrible it
sucked
was.
too. Don't worry. Don't
But
worry.
then, well, no, at least you were truly graduated. They said I was graduated. I moved
Oh
out, and then
yeah.
they,
It
and
wasn't
then
the
I went through all
graduation
that
day
kind of
itself.
rigmarole. I don't know if we did an episode on that, did we?
No, no, we didn't. But
That was
we'll touch
just,
on that in the future.
but
That
that was just
was that
that was a
was
horrible summer.
bastardization of a process
And
for what you've
then
been
and
paying for.
then the next year, uh, my mother was saying that you should get your associates because I'd moved out of the house. And she thought that I would come back to Woodbridge to get my associates. And she kept talking to me and, you should always have your 2 year degree to prove that you accomplished that, even though you got a 4 year degree. And I'm going like, okay, whatever. And your 2 year degrees in
Yes, mom.
business, and it'll show that you're processed. And so I listened to my mother, and she thought that it meant I was going to come back. And that was, I think, her ulterior motive. And I was like, and the only class I hadn't completed was orientation. It was a 1 hour course, and I had to go. I had to go to Woodbridge. I went on a Saturday and I went to the campus, and they gave me a tour of the campus that I'd been going to for 5 years. And they told me wherever this is the cafeteria, this is the gym, this is the football field, this is the parking lot, this is it. And I was just like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I know about that. The library, yeah, that's on the third floor. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was so interesting to
I
see it,
wanted to do
you
this
know.
joke where I bought a bunch of Nova gear, and then instead of buying UVA gear, I would just wear the Nova gear at UVA. And I always thought that
I
would be
think you
funny.
should.
I always thought that would have been funny.
Well, you have all that gear that's Arizona State, and you
Yeah, I
wear
have a
that all
ton
the
of
time.
ASU gear. It's
I
really
don't
nice stuff.
consider that to be, I don't know.
The University of Arizona and Arizona State are two different schools. You know this, right?
No, I have no idea.
You
I
think that
just
they're
think
one?
I think Arizona, and all of a sudden I think like, no.
You're not saying that Phoenix is the best city in the world?
No,
It's almost kind of like Albuquerque.
I think Nova is harder, and I think it's better. And I got to
That was a
say
great
that
public school, yeah.
I learned a
Or public
great
college
stuff.
or
I
community
learned
college.
a
There we go.
lot of stuff there.
I learned a
Great
ton
community
too.
college.
I think some of the best
Yeah.
teachers that I've ever had were at Nova,
Yeah.
at
Is
community
that
college.
weird? I had a great econ professor. I had a great math teacher. I had a great math teacher, weirdly. I had a great English teacher there. I had a great, I try to think about the difference. I had a great PE teacher. I had a crush on her. She's the one that got me into skiing. I got God, just many
I like how I didn't
great.
really run into bad teachers until I got to UVA, which is really funny Because
We had
the
an
ones that,
expectation that was a lot higher too.
what do you mean by expectation?
I mean, if I'm paying $5,000 a class as opposed to 500,
Oh, okay, I
I
see what you're
would
saying.
think that the quality would be much better. And you found out that
It was
that's not
lower.
true.
It was
Yeah.
lower than that of Northern Virginia Community College, Annandale campus. It was much lower than that. Because if you think about it too, you have these community college professors that are forced to teach, whether it be a socioeconomic position or they genuinely want to teach all the time. And so
Right.
a lot of them would teach high school during the day, get off, and then they would teach at night. And I think that just that in itself, they're teaching twice as much as these tenured professors at UVA. So they are more
And they
skilled
cared.
and they cared more than the ones at the expensive public Ivy, funny enough. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I remember my dad, he went to Harvard and he also went to Alabama. And he said the difference between history at Harvard and history at Alabama is in Alabama, we we learned from the history book that the Harvard professor at wrote, and then that guy actually taught. And I think at that time, this is in the 40s, they actually, no, it's been in the 30s, they actually, when they taught you the class, the professors actually taught the class. See, now UVA, they use, I mean, how often do you have a professor there?
What do you mean by a professor? Oh, that wrote something?
No, that when you
Like
were
what?
when you had a class,
Oh, yeah, it
you
was shoveled off to the TAs. A
you
lot of
had
it was shoveled off
TAs.
onto the TAs, which I thought was the laziest thing
I mean, out
ever,
of five
especially
classes,
since you're
how many
paying
classes do you have
so
in a
much
week?
money. What?
How many classes do you have in a
Oh
week?
gosh, like seven or something. Does that
Okay, you
sound
have
right?
7 classes in a week.
Is that
How
right?
many times did
No, that's not right. It's like four or something. I don't know. Maybe in between four and seven. I don't really remember, even though it
Yeah,
was only like two
but
years ago.
you had like 3 times you had to go into class every day.
There we go. Something like that.
So
Yeah.
you had like 12 meetings a week. And of those 12 meetings, how many times was a professor there?
So a lot of times, if it was a bigger class, we would do a main, what is it, room kind of professor teaches this. And then
Yeah.
the second time we would meet during the week was us in the group with
So you would
the
get
other
at least
person,
50, that's 50% of the class was taught by the professor,
pretty much.
50% by a TA.
Yeah. Yeah, which
Okay.
was BS in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then you get into higher level classes like the 5,000 levels, and those are taught only by professors. But that's so funny that I don't know. Like I understand the gen ed, but even like Chinese history has to be taught by a TA as well. It was modern China, my favorite class I took there. And I
Wow.
remember, yeah, I was like, why do we even have that? I don't even remember what we did in those TA sections. I don't think we did anything other than, oh, what did you think about the reading this week? Which is entirely useless. Oh my gosh.
What did you think?
What did you think? Yeah. Which is kind
I
of
mean, that
nice, but
those
at the same
words are
time.
they never use they will see that's the thing I always that bothered me about when we were talking interpretive English literature. The teacher had already interpreted it for us and just wanted us to spit back what we said.
That's all of
Wow.
the English degree. That's the entirety of
Isn't
the.
this isn't this interesting that drug abuse leads to education?
I think it certainly does.
I think it does.
Are
And I
we at
think that
time? What are we at?
yeah, I was
Are
gonna
we at
say that
time?
I think that's a great way to end that we sat here and we talked about a number of different things and about taking drugs and about a little bit about abuse. We talked a little bit about why we what are the leaders into abuse, what made us abuse drugs, what we thought was abuse or not abuse, and then how to get out of it. I mean, I think that we both had our tastes, but I think that we're both on solid ground where that's concerned, where there's no issue that it's going to take a hold of me and like I know people that it's eaten all of their financial wherewithal and put them out on the street and divorced and all that stuff.
I feel good in my life. I feel like I'm in a good
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are in a good place. I
Well,
think I'm in a good place too.
we're all in a good place.
At least for today.
For the next 10 seconds. As
Well, see, that's what
always, we have the
yeah.
Instagram A Record of My Father podcast, the YouTube A Record of My Father podcast. And then also, what else are we advertising? Should we make corn pizza magnets? We might have merchandise soon. Who knows? Just for fun. We have the story of the worst pizza will come next week. Please tune in for that. I'm missing one other thing. I don't know what it is, but a record of my father.com. There we go. That's the last thing that I was going to say. Thank you guys for listening. As always, comments on the Spotify, comments on the YouTube. Just throw some hate on there. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Do you have any parting words?
Yeah, I hate corn pizza.
Me as well. Corn pizza, no go. All right, see you guys.
Party on.